Hello, it's Etan, and spring has sprung at Rancho Los Alamitos, a historic adobe and ranch in Long Beach. Now, I love these old ranchos because they connect to so many different phases of Los Angeles' history. So for about 2,000 years, this land was stewarded by the Tongva Native Americans. And not far from here, there is a ceremonial site in Tongva Village that is separately listed on the National Register. Later, this land was part of a massive Spanish land grant that was granted by the Spanish crown to Manuel Nieto. He was a soldier who traveled as part of the party of Gaspar de Portolá. They were the first Europeans to explore the inland of California. In the 1830s, the Mexican government divvied up the Nieto land grant amongst Nieto's children. This one became known as Rancho Los Alamitos. A rich Easterner named Abel Stearns came around in the 1840s and he bought up the ranch and turned it into a prosperous cattle ranch. In 1878, the Bixbys came to town. Now, they were from Maine. They were some of the most prolific landowners in Southern California and pioneers of raising sheep for wool. And they leased the ranch first and then bought it outright a few years later. The Bixby family owned this property for nearly 90 years. And during that time, successive generations would use the land differently. So they were farmers. They grew hay and alfalfa and grain. They also bred horses and raised chickens and dairy cows too. Cheese was a big thing here. They also made all kinds of improvements to the land. They built outbuildings that were meant to support the ranching and farming. Things like a blacksmith shop and barns and feed sheds and that kind of thing. Florence Bixby was the lady of the house in the early part of the 20th century, and it's really because of her that we have these lush gardens and incredible plantings and trees that populate the entire property today. Ranching pretty much ended here in the 1950s, and in 1967, the youngest Bixbys donated the entire property to the city of Long Beach. Now you can see the entire history of Rancho Los Alamitos compressed into one building, which is of course the ranch house. So it dates back from the Nieto days, back in the early 1800s, when it was just an adobe house with 2 bedrooms, a dining room, and a parlor. During the Abel Stearns era, from the 1840s on, it was expanded to add a kitchen and staff sleeping quarters, making it into sort of a backwards L shape. The Bixbys expanded it even further. They added a music room. They added another wing of 4 bedrooms, making it into a U shape. They added a second story, including a balcony that overlooks the courtyard, sort of in a Monterey style. So there you have it. It goes from ceremonial Tongva land to Spanish land grant, to being divvied up by the Mexican government, to the Yankees coming in and buying it up and subdividing it, and then it becomes public property. You get the entire history of LA's development condensed into this one place. Coming here is a real education. Thanks for doing LA with me.